What's up? What's up? What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? It's good to be back. I've been kind of away for a little bit, but we back. We back. So I wanted to talk about some things. I want to talk about some things. Uh, I've been witness to some disturbing social trends. Um, Let me start by this. So I heard about this Daunte Wright situation. Uh, heard about that today, and I didn't know anything about it. So I looked into it. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. I mean, it's even worse uh, because it's in the same city that the George Floyd trial is going on. Like, talk about not needing to happen. You know, Nobody should die anyway in any city, but this is just kind of like the salt on the wound, which is why you have these protests. So let me talk about some things with you guys. Uh, so I was on a stream and I was watching the protest in the city, and make sure my mic is loud enough. It's probably too loud. I know my last video was pretty loud, but you guys can always turn me down a little bit. All right, so I watched the protesters, and the protesters. This was before the curfew, and the protesters were, they were peaceful. Everybody was peaceful. People were upset. This happens at protests. People get upset. They get mad, and they're this close to lashing out. But I'm watching, and the protesters weren't doing anything wrong. So I'm watching the chat. I'm looking at the chat, and there's a lot of covert things being said that lets me know certain people's mentality on the situation. And I had took some notes on some of it too. So I wanted to make sure that I got it right. I don't want to take anything out of context when I was looking. So somebody said, teach your children to obey the law, and they will stay alive. Okay, I agree with that statement. I think that it is a responsibility parent to teach their child right from wrong, what to do, what not to do. So I agree with that statement. Um, his statement was pertaining to this situation where this young man, Daunte Wright, uh, lost his life. I believe that in this instance, was Daunte Wright wrong for trying to run from the police? Yes, he was wrong. Did him being wrong determine that he should lose his life? No. So when people make statements like this, they make these blanket statements like, "Oh, well, teach your kids, to obey the law, and they won't die." No, that's. There's already been numerous studies done and countless situations that we've seen where people have obeyed the law and still lost their lives. So this type of person right here, they need to. Uh, this is somebody who needs to understand uh, things differently. I think what their reality that they're living in doesn't actually reflect real life, you know. And unfortunately, there are millions of people that think like this, who their perception of what they feel is reality is not reality, and so that's how they go about their lives, and that's a lot of reasons why they differ so much with people. And they're like, oh well, all you gotta do is just obey the law and you won't die. Well, when you bring up a situation where somebody obeyed the law, like let's take an example, Philandro Castile. He did everything he was supposed to do. He was in the car. He was trying to, let the officer know, hey, let you know that here's my ID stuff. Here's my reaching for this. Let you know that I'm licensed to carry. Everything he was supposed to do, and he still was shot dead. So let me move on to another something somebody else said. Then somebody else said, it's the same guy. No, it's a different guy. Then somebody else said, I didn't think much with the smaller crowd, but this is a given for tear gas tonight. So that type of mentality is very negative and unproductive, because these people are out here, they're United States citizens, and they are expressing their concerns over what is going on, police. And they're also exercising their rights as United States civilians to protest, because that's a right to do, to protest. So wishing tear gas on protesters is not the way to go about things. If you are, and I'm going to say this a couple times during this stream, but if you are not happy with the way things are, then you need to figure out what is the cause of the reason that things are like that. So you don't like protesters, okay? Or you don't like this protest. Let's say that you don't like this protest. All right, gotcha. Why don't you like this protest? And I'm going to get to that later on, because there's some other things that were said too. But it's like, if you don't like this protest, why are they protesting? They're protesting because they are tired of seeing civilians get killed. Whether or not the guy ran or whatnot, he didn't deserve to lose his life for running. And they're tired of seeing that. I can promise you 1,000%. If he ran and was detained and he didn't lose his life, guess what? No protest. If George Floyd was detained and he didn't lose his life, guess what? No protest. So if you want to solve what you don't like, I don't like these people protesting, I think it's stupid. Well, if we address the problem, then there won't be any protest. Let's move on to the next one. So then you have another person. They say, I want to see a mass of arrest. Why? Again, we're going to go back to they're protesting for a reason. And this is the only way that civilians can actually bring about change. When you disrupt the system wants to know what's causing the disruption, and they want to fix that. People don't realize that the citizens have the power. And if you mass together, you can get things done. You can get things changed. How do you think that the civil rights happened? Because people as a whole got together and got things changed. We'll go to this next one. So then someone said, so then they started making jokes about the protest. So they said, what's the over under that they call it a church service? And this was This was underlying a prejudice statement because he was trying to make it seem like this is a black people's church service. There's a mixture in the crowd. You know, there's white people, black people, Mexican people. There are people of all different cultures in that crowd who are standing up for what they believe in. So so he says, what's the over under that this church service will end in riots? And then people started making jokes and placing bets. So this is one of the problems that we have as a society. And this is why the topic of my video, one of the topics is underlying hate, because they feel so separated from each other. They feel they're so divisive. They feel like the protesters are not a part of them, that they're separate from them and their cause. And this is the problem. And they're not realizing that if you want something done, you can't be happy in this country with the way things are. And so if you're not happy, guess what? Guess what you have to do to get things to be changed? You have to take action. And some of that action is protesting. But to make light and to make jokes and to trivialize what other people are going through because you're not going through it is a disservice to them. And it makes you you have no empathy for your fellow citizens in the country that you coexist with, and that's a problem. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. One of the same guy. This is when they announced the curfew. Says, "Dang, they're all going home. They're all going home. I wanted to see mass arrest." So you got that. I actually told this guy to be positive. I said, stop being so negative. Let's see, there's somebody else. There's another one. Let's see. There are people talking about Antifa. So there's no Antifa in the crowd or there, but it's just trigger words, and it's it's a boogeyman. Again, rather than they won't express how they truly feel about a black man losing his life, so they disguise it as these Antifa people, blah blah blah. When your true feelings are, look, I don't want to see these black people out here protesting. I don't want to see these black people protesting. Then somebody says, what time does the looting start? Again, I had to reply again. Stop being negative. This is what I'm talking about. Rather than discuss the problems and the solutions, and rather than discuss, the lack of training for this officer, she didn't have the proper training. If she didn't know the difference between her gun and her taser, and she didn't know what side her gun was on and what side her taser was on, that's a lack of training. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so somebody mentioned something about reporters, and somebody said white reporters aren't welcome. So let's talk about that. This is a basic triggering gaslighting, because there are plenty of white reporters there. Most of the streaming you see is from white reporters. As you see, I'm showing here, this is Fox. These are white reporters showing this. But this is a flawed mentality. This is a false reality that he has created in his own head to make himself feel better about the way he truly feels. He definitely has an issue with people that aren't like him. And so he manifests that by creating a false reality that he lives in, that, the white people aren't invited here. Oh, there's an attack on white people. Let's see, there's another one. This guy says, pull out the cops and do a tactical airstrike, and the world will be a little better. So here we go again. Somebody who has a problem with what he sees, and rather than try to find a solution to what he sees, he responds with, he'd rather see these people die. And again, this is disturbing because these are people don't realize these are people that you work with, that you live next to, that you go to school with, that you work with, that you see out and about. There are people that think like this. There are millions of people that think like this. But yeah, I mean, it's really bad. You know, this is really bad. And now just think about that. So here's something real dark. This person's mentality. This could be somebody who is responsible for black jobs or jobs of people who don't align with what he believes in. And so this could be somebody who exercises their power and influence to negatively affect someone's livelihood because they don't agree with them, or he doesn't like the way they look, or he doesn't feel they are together, or he's with them, you know. Then there was somebody who said, why can't they just shoot all the monkeys? That doesn't need to be, you know, that speaks for itself. You know, there's no reason to even delve into that. Again, it's an echo chamber of hate. And there are some other people that were in this chat that were trying, but you have to realize that it's an echo chamber of hate. And it just is what it is. But I wanted to talk about it. So I think one of the issues that exist is there is a severe lack of empathy in the world, in the country. People are very divided, and they don't understand that there's no reason for us to be divided, and there's no reason to have hate in your heart, because your life is only going to be worse and worse with hate in your heart. You know, I love everybody, even if you have differences of opinion. I have a mixed group of friends, and I have a lot of Republican friends, and I have a lot of Democratic friends. And my thing is, that's okay. We might disagree on policy, but we shouldn't disagree on basic human rights. If you don't like Joe Biden because he believes that more taxes or whatever, that's fine. You don't like Donald Trump because he believes less taxes, that's fine. When the issue comes when you have somebody who is blatantly going against human rights or doing things that will be the detriment of human rights. So, you know, again, I think it's a really sad time that we're living in, because there are millions and millions of people who believe this. And what's even more disturbing is there's millions of people who are in positions of power who believe this, who flex their power based on their beliefs. Do you remember the woman who called the police on the black man that was walking his dog in Central Park? And she's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna call the police because you're a black man, they're gonna believe me. Here's the problem with that. Did you all know what her occupation was? Her occupation was she was a manager, which means that there is a high chance, almost guaranteed, that she employed and had under her black people. And you can almost be certain that her beliefs most likely affected people of color. If she felt less, if she felt they were less than her, as she expressed to this man she called the police on in Central Park. So again, I think that uh, we need to do more educating, and we need to do more uh, bringing of knowledge to everyone, so that we can get people together. Everybody is not where we all aren't the same, and we have differences, and we should be okay with those differences because that's just who we are as people. You can have disagreements and still be civil. But when you start talking about you want people to die because they don't believe in the same things you do, or you want them to be arrested because they're not, doing what you want them to do, that's where we get issues. That's where we come to have problems. There was another gentleman who said, "Oh, there's a curfew." Uh, Actually, it was a streamer and a couple other people. Oh, there's a curfew and they should be in and it's 7 o'clock and how come they're not in? They should be arrested. Can you guys believe this? And blah blah blah. Yet I didn't see any stream or anything during the Capitol riots when there was a curfew for them and they still were there. There was nothing said because there was hypocrisy, and you have to get rid of that. You have to say, you know what? Just because I agree with somebody does not mean that everything they do is right. And it doesn't mean that I can't have a problem with something that they did. That's what we're having a lot of issues with in our society right now, is that people are turning a blind eye to people that they like and ignoring the things, and rather than admitting, say, hey, you know what, that wasn't right what he did, or he was wrong for that. They just ignore it, or they covertly try to act like, oh yeah, you're right, yeah, okay. But anyway, about those liberals, you know what I'm saying? Can't have that, man. We can't have that. You need to put that same energy that you put into somebody who doesn't agree with you, into somebody who agrees with you but is wrong. And that's something we got to work on as people. And I hope that I can continue to try to help people do that, because we got to work on that. We have to. There's so many people who, like I said, I got friends that love Trump, and I'm not mad at them. You can love Trump all you want, but you have to admit when he's wrong. Don't ignore it. Don't fill your Facebook up with tons of posts about Biden and what Biden is doing and how he's doing this wrong and doing that wrong. But when Trump was doing wrong, you were quiet and you had nothing to say, and your Facebook was empty. I actually had friends who never even got on Facebook like that. You might have saw 2 posts a year, and when the protests happened, they were posting every day. And then when the election thing was good, they were posting every day. I said, man, look, you were quiet and you had nothing to say when things were wrong and you didn't want to admit to it. Now all of a sudden you got all things to say now, But like I said, I hope that we can really move forward, and I plan on doing that. I plan on using my voice and my knowledge to help us come together as people and not be so divided. I can be someone of different culture, and you can be someone of different culture, and we can celebrate our cultures. And it doesn't mean that we're being divisive, because we are different people, but we can come together under the banner of humanity. And that's what we should celebrate, our togetherness on this planet as humans. Don't get mad because you hear someone say, they're doing this to black people or whatever. And then people, well, they're doing it to white people too. Look, they should do it to anybody. But rather than be, what about, or what about this? No, let's say, you know what? I know that they're doing this to white people as well. And I know they're doing this to black people. Rather than me try to dilute your stance and your argument and the way you feel. Let me try to help figure out what we can do to stop this, because you know what? Guess what? When you figure out how to help them and stop what's going on with them, that same solution applies to you. So work together on the problems that we have, and work together, and don't fall for the underlying hatred that exists in the media, online, and with people that are behind closed doors. You know, there are people who are upset because people are protesting, and when it's something that they don't like, they're just sitting behind their computer and not doing anything at all. How are you mad at somebody who is expressing their freedoms in this country, and they're trying to make a change, and you won't even do that for the things that you want to change? I think you should work on yourself and stop being so hateful to others. So anyway, that was a couple of quick thoughts on you know, some of these things I've been seeing. I really want to start going into detail about these things and start pulling up some articles and showing you all some actual facts to back up some things that exist. And I actually will shortly. I'm trying to get a new mic because I know I don't sound the greatest. Mics aren't cheap, but I am trying. And I thank you guys for sticking with me and bearing with me on this journey as I start to try to help and try to get the equipment and the things that I need to do better to reach more people. So anyway, I think I'm gonna leave it here. Remember, don't have hate in your heart. Have understanding and try to find solutions. Be quick to think and slow to anger. So with that, guys, I'm going to leave you with it. Thank you for joining me. Please check my YouTube at Bean Cannon 1, as you see up there in the top left corner. And check me on Twitch, of course. Please subscribe and please follow me. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter. Please help me grow, because that's the only way that I'm going to be able to get these things out there. If I get people to help me. So thank you guys, and I will see you next time.